in the entire world, there's only going to be one you. And I said, what do you mean? And he says, there's only one of you. There's only one Joel with your talents, your skill sets, your personality, and you could be the best, most unique in whatever you do.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to Weiss Advice. I am your host, Yonah Weiss. And with me today is my good friend, Mr. Joel Wolh, the one and only co-founder of Bizfluence. He is a Amazon madman. You may have heard of him from that other platform, which he got banned from. And we'll talk about that a little bit today. And I was probably one of the first that came out and was, always been an advocate, always been a supporter of everything you're doing. It's great to have you here today, Joel. How are you?
Dude, you're a friend. People don't know this, but you come into to New York, East Coast for, limited time. And you always make an effort to come and stop by and see me. And I really appreciate it. So you're one of those guys on LinkedIn that we actually, we became friends. And if you had WhatsApp, we'd probably be communicating much more, but that's fine. It just makes our communication so much more valuable. You mentioned a great point, the one and only. And I have to tell you, I say it all the time, but I'll say it really quick. When I was about 19 years old, I started college, and I wanted to become a physical therapist. It was a career. Okay. Someone says, hey, you should become a physical therapist. I said, okay, that's a good idea. And then I went to interview with a couple of different people that, can teach me a little bit, just hands-on, what it looks like. And then I started college. And I met a guy in my neighborhood who tells me, someone I know, right? Like one of my uncles, not a real uncle, but one of those people you grow up with. And he says, physical therapy, huh? So, well, here's the thing. Let me tell you one thing, young man. There's only going to be one physical therapist like you in the entire world. It's going to be only one like you. And I said, what do you mean? And he says, there's only one of you. There's only one Joel with your talents, your skill sets, your personality. There's only one of you in the entire world. And you could be the best, most unique in whatever you do. And it took years for me to get that. And it's such an important concept. In Judaism, we have that concept of Bishvili Nivra Olam, because of for I. The entire world was created just for me. And that too, most people don't really grasp that concept. It's for me. The entire world is just for you. And you got to play that role.
It's a very profound concept, and I'm glad you brought that up and I think what you did with that and what you're doing with that currently, and what a lot of people really need to hear is that, yeah, you are unique. You're the one and only, and your talents, whatever it is that you are going to be, shining through in that. And I think it's really important to realize that you should not limit yourself to think, oh, now I'm in a box and I'm this thing that I do. No, that thing that you do, may define you to a certain extent, but that's not who you are. Now, I know someone who's in a startup, an entrepreneur who's starting a startup, that, it seems like you're totally enveloped in what you're doing, and that's like totally who you are. But there's so much beyond that. And like you said, you are, you're a soul. You're so much more beyond this limited time and space that you're in.
And this is true for businesses too, right? Like we started this new platform, which we'll talk about, Bizfluence, and it is a social business / business networking platform like LinkedIn. So there are other competitors, right? We did some market research, and there is really no such thing as competition, because so far what we've discovered was, nobody is really addressing this problem, kind of like
this
well,
need, there's a need out there.
let's say need, right? In the way that we are. We're looking at things very, very differently. So there is no competition. Every single business has a unique personality, and many times that comes from the founder or the team and whatnot. But you have the ability to take your business in a very unique direction and be able to sell on that. That's where it's really crucial to find that critical element that sets you apart and sell on that.
Mm-hmm. So I think we
can stop the podcast right here. I think people, like, if you learn that, forget it.
We could, and that's such an incredible point. But I want to keep going because there are so many incredible points we can discuss and so much to be learned from. And I think a lot of people listen to these podcasts over and over because there's so much to gain from it. So I want to kind of pivot a little bit. Obviously, we talked about how you've co-founded recently this new platform, Bizfluence, and I want to talk a little bit about the background about why you started that. And even before we get to that, I do want to just touch on the point how LinkedIn became that platform where everyone who was involved in it and had made it such an important part of their business. And I think that's the most important component here we have to focus on. So many people like you and myself included. In fact, we did a series a couple years ago similar to this called Coffee with Joel and Yona, where we sat down for about an hour and just had a conversation about how to use social media to create your personal brand and to create business relationships through that. And we're a prime example. I literally go out of my way to have coffee with you and spend time with you whenever I'm in your neighborhood. And, we met online. We met through this platform. And I think that's so important. And we're not even in the same industry, right?
No.
I'm in real estate. You're in Amazon, and e-commerce and doing other things. But we had so much aligned interests and so much of that kind of like-mindedness that we talk about a lot. And I think there's a lot of potential synergy that comes through those type of relationships that you have. So what happened, on LinkedIn? You were pounding out content on a daily basis, probably more than most people I know, 3, 4, 5, 10 times a day, putting out 10 plus at a certain points, right? And getting tons of engagement.
20-something yesterday.
And getting tons of engagement, getting tons of followers, getting tons of business specifically through that. And then one day, boom, what happened?
So I'm a very bold individual, not in real life. In real life, I'm a scaredy cat, but online, I'm really good with my fingers. My hands, not so much. I'm a passionate person, and I stand up for what I believe in. Like, it's a no-brainer to me. People are so afraid. It's like you're online. Who cares? Just say what you believe in. Say what you stand for. Stop virtue signaling and all that stuff. And today, if you it's almost like if you stand for religious and moral values, you're labeled a hateful, racist, supremacist.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I just saw a poll out of Israel, something like 80, I'll tell you right now, Israel News, which is Israel News Channel, I think. No, let me see. It's interesting. I'll tell you why I say it if I remember. It's by I-24 News, which I think is a reputable channel there. I think it might be an internet channel, I-24 News. I've heard of it. Which U.S. presidential candidate do you think will be better for Israel? And 63% say Trump. Now, I don't care what you say, white supremacy. If white supremacists love Israel, then they must be great for us. Like, come on, stop with the labeling. So today, anyone that stands up for certain concepts and values say, hey, you probably shouldn't trash up a city in the name of, anyone. You never should be trashing up a city. And the minute that you do so, whatever you stand for, it's irrelevant. We no longer care what you stand for. The other night in Brooklyn, some Jewish bar mitzvah boys rioted. They call it a riot. They lit a box of masks and they kind of danced around it in a giant circle. They did the whole and the news called it a riot. And it's like, okay, so you burnt the box of masks, right? You didn't smash any buildings. You didn't hurt anyone. You didn't shoot any cops. And because there was this inflammatory, like, controversial topic, I didn't care. I just said what I thought was right. My friend sends me a video of his store in Los Angeles completely trashed. And I was infuriated, and I spoke up against
during
it.
the little context. This is back a few months ago when there were the riots going on, right at the beginning of the
Right.
Black Lives Matter.
Right. And this is after all this work I was doing on COVID, and I was volunteering, and I was doing a tremendous amount. I was just very, very passionate about stuff. So I spoke up. I didn't hate on anyone and, single out any minority or anything like that. But I said the truth. And people started really getting, very negative with me. I got literally thousands of in-mail, messages from people who thank you for standing up. I can't stand up. I'm a cop. I'm a nurse. I'm a this, I'm a that. I can't say the things that you're saying. But the funny thing was LinkedIn suspends me. And in the suspension, there was in the appeal, because you do this appeal, and there was this video about Bill Gates, which I had posted. There was literally nothing negative there at all. Very weird. It was Bill Gates predicting a pandemic just like this one, and it was like an eye-opening video. And then there was one about Bill de Blasio, which was like a news piece. But they basically accused me of misinformation, and then there was two divisive comments that I made. So they gave me 4 pointers of why they kicked me off. But anyway, I got back on, and then I was like, okay, heck with
I'm rally around you, the free speech for Joel.
Yeah. We had thousands of people. I mean, we had probably hundreds of posts about me. I think probably more than anyone else that's gotten suspended off LinkedIn. Then a week later, I posted something. I'd rather not talk about it. I don't want to mess you up with your audience, but it's controversial. There's no question about it. But probably 60% of LinkedIn or 70% of LinkedIn agrees with me. And then this one guy writes a really hateful comment in response to my post. So I wrote back a hateful comment to him. Like a little crying lefty liberal, he went reporting the comment, I guess. And then LinkedIn suspended me, and they said, that's it. It's final. Don't even try to appeal. So that's what happened. Up until now, for the last 3 years, I'm posting business-related content 10 times a day.
Right.
We organized the largest LinkedIn networking events, brought on thousands of new members, likely, got hundreds of people jobs, built, fundraised for people.
Yeah. So much good is happening.
We've done so much. And, LinkedIn is just a giant behemoth. Like they don't have time to kind of go through, weed everything out on the side. They just wipe you. And what's crazy about this really is, number one, we've been hearing for the last couple of years about big data, big tech with their, censorship. And it was a little removed from those of us that couldn't really care about politics and all that stuff, cultural stuff. We're just on LinkedIn. We're doing right. And LinkedIn has become... Sorry?
Yeah, and we're on LinkedIn. We're doing business. We're hustling and paying attention. Like all that political, those things. I just ignore them. I go right by them. I unfollow. That's not why I'm there. That's not why most people are there. But when they come
LinkedIn has become, they favored the social content style feed. They promoted it. They actually
encourage it.
I think more so than any of the other features, that's kind of become like the Gary Vaynerchuk talks about LinkedIn content all day long. It's kind of become the thing to do. And they promote their own social causes on LinkedIn by offering you stickers and banners. Some of those are very divisive. So it's become that way. Yet when you actually decide to state your opinion, you get censored. And now it's happening in the last 2 months. If you just go to the search bar, do LinkedIn ban or LinkedIn censorship, and you do content last 24 hours, you're going to see dozens of posts about different people that are censored and comments that are censored. For me, LinkedIn messaging was more important than my email. I literally, in the morning, messages.
Yeah, me too.
Everything was there. My network, was there. 30 something thousand people. Everything was there. And it's just incredible that they would just wipe it. I mean, I think Twitter stops you from posting for a week, or they pause you, but then you have you have access to your messages, because we live in a virtual world today. And if someone takes the virtual space you're living in, it kind of wipes away a piece of your life. Anyway,
yeah.
We had a few people say, "Hey, Joel, start your own network." Start your own. You don't get banned from Facebook or Twitter, and you start your own Twitter, right? Although John Matsey, I don't think he was banned, but he started Parler, which is the anti-Twitter. But you just don't. It's not something that you do. And then the noise started getting louder. I realized I'm in massive trouble. I don't have my platform anymore, which is where I did everything, and I enjoy doing that. I got to rethink everything. And I started looking at things, and I gathered a group of people, and I said, is this doable? What's needed here? How does this get done? How do you start a platform? Mm-hmm. And as soon as it got too real, I said, guys, hang on. If we do this, this is $1 billion company, potential, right?
Of course.
It's not $1 million company. It's either, right? It's either it's $1 billion or bust. So I can't just partner up with a ragtag group of people who claim to know this or that. I need to really think this through. And I have an Israeli partner, actually American, but lives in Israel. In my Amazon business, and he's phenomenal thinker and developer, and we attacked this vision here, and we said, can this be done? How can we do this? And we did it. I got kicked off early July. By mid-August, our beta platform was up, and by September 1st, I think, we opened up for public. We're at 2,500 users right now. 5,000 posts have been posted already on the platform. We're going to go back to beta, close it up, and keep it exclusive, adding people, because our thesis here is we want to build a community. LinkedIn, for you, Yona Weiss, it's not a technical tool.
Right.
It's a community. It can be called Joined In tomorrow, and you wouldn't care what it's called. 100%. It's where you go to meet people and to do business, right?
And it's exactly the same. A community isn't built in a day. It's built over a long period of time, with those relationships forming, with joining lots of things together, and it takes a long time to do that.
So what we want to do is what everyone else who comes up with the idea of a social media platform, they come up with tools. Twitter is a tool to post, short form posts, right? Instagram was like a tool to post pictures. Those were phenomenal tools, and they built them really, really well. Obviously, there were some that came and go really fast. But then, when I did my research and we looked at different tools that are out there today, and there's Invitely, there's
dozens,
Shaper.
Really.
Sorry?
There's dozens of social media platforms that have different kind of niches and tools.
In terms of business, there are a few semi-successful ones, but they kind of build it as tools. Like, it's a technical piece of software that gives you certain, like, one is the swipe right, swipe left, but two of them actually swipe right, swipe left. We said, we're not building anything technical. We're building a community. We want to get thousands of people together, kind of like when you build a great networking event, which we've done in the past, which you've attended, right? Where it's just massive people, and like, go network and have fun while you're doing it. And we put the bull riding thing in the middle of the room, and we had all kinds of fun stuff going on, because you want to network, do business, and have fun. So that's kind of like our thesis, if I can say that again, about how we want to see this. We want to see this as a giant conference hall full of people, and everyone's just talking to each other and making introductions and referring one another. Now, making introductions. Okay, we need a tool for that. What if you want to talk about real estate? You don't want to be in this section. Okay, we need a tool for that. So now we got to build all these different tools to filter, to avoid spam, to keep the feed clean, to schedule appointments, to sell something. We want to have everything within this platform. But at the base of it, the foundation of it is a community of like-minded individuals that want to help each other, that are professional, that want to build their businesses and their professional life up. So we've gotten to the point where we have kind of like a little bit of foundation. We have a little bit of software. We have a beta platform. We're going to be rolling out a beta app soon for Android and for iPhone. And it's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it is exciting. It's going to be what I find most exciting about it is the fact that it's starting from ground up, and you can kind of experience things. And I think everyone agrees that early users of anything have the most potential to gain in the long term, right? I mean, you look at people like every platform that's out there, and I started on LinkedIn really more than any other platform when I went in full time, and not full time, but what happened was I started branching out to these. I started dabbling in a little bit in Twitter, a little bit in Instagram, a little bit in Facebook, and finding each one of these, huge platforms that are already existing, and there's already people that totally understand it and totally are killing it on each one. People with millions of followers on this, and how does that happen? It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a long period of time, but it's those early users, those early adopters that are going to benefit the most from it. And I think the fact that you're doing this kind of and bringing it back into a beta, stage that you're able to then create what needs to be created with a base of those, foundational members, that's where we're going to have the most success. But I want to ask a question though, about how you are, because the main reason you were kicked off of LinkedIn and the impetus to start this was because LinkedIn had become a more, a lot of political messages and undertonings that were going on, and censorship. And really that was the main thing, right? And that's the scariest part of these types of big platforms.
Yeah.
The question was, how are you with this new platform going to be different, or going to, see that, make sure something like that doesn't happen?
Yeah, the scariest thing to me, scariest, not really, but it's ironic, let's say, and you use the good word impetus, because that's what it is. Not like the reason, but it is definitely an impetus. If I didn't get suspended, I would not be starting this. So the ironic thing is, immediately when I started this thing, and one of the first conversations with various people were around censorship, I said the funny thing is that I'm going to be censoring myself now, because as a user, you should be able to say whatever you want to say. But as the founder, big mistake, because you're going to alienate 50%, 48%, 44%, whatever it is, right? You're going to be alienating a giant chunk of users. And you don't want to do that. And I think that Parler has that problem. I think they alienate people on the left. I don't think you should. I think, the founder should not have a voice when it comes to politics. I can have a voice when it comes to business. I can have a voice when it comes to, vanilla culture, like stuff that doesn't offend anyone. But anything divisive, you need to shut up about. Now, what are we doing about users? So I think people don't understand the difference between a moderated network and a censored network, right? A moderated network, so I'm part of different business groups, right? One of them is Amazon. I'm on a network with thousands of Amazon sellers, and you can't post anything not Amazon related, anything. So it's not censorship. It's very heavily moderated
for a purpose, right?
The benefit of everyone on the platform.
Exactly.
If people started posting stuff about other, anything else, I have a WhatsApp group that I run, and as well, it's Amazon, and that's it. So we're looking at this as professional/business. Now, we allow for the fact that people want to talk about politics. It's election right now, right? Like, what do you think? People are not. So we want to give them that outlet, but at the same time, we don't want to clog up the main feed. Now, even right now with our current beta platform, we have filtering options. So if you're in real estate, you go to the main feed and you're just checking in. You want to see for a few minutes about, different, real estate content. You just search by real estate and you can see only real estate content. Now, that's the main feed. But beyond that, there are groups, but we don't call them groups. They're networks. And they're just different.
Like sub feeds.
Yeah, and they were just different. Like in a live networking event, you can imagine just different areas, right? Different areas of the room where you would go to talk about real estate. Or if you want to talk about politics, so we have the Bizfluence Cafe. We have about 100 other networks where you can just post anything you want. I don't care as long as you're not harassing anyone, as long as it meets, basic standards of decency. So it's not X-rated, it's not,
hate speech or anything like that.
Sorry?
Not hate speech. You have basic standards on your platform.
Anything that'll get you arrested if you do it publicly. Or if you're badgering and harassing someone as well, that can maybe he won't get arrested. Maybe he'll get, he'll get warned by the police. But right. So that answers that. And that's only in beta. So as we start building out, for real, and we are, those options and those features are going to be much, much, much improved. And the fact that we're focusing our features, it's all like business focused. It's just going to create the kind of environment. And that's why we're so important. It's so crucial to us to build up a strong base of thousands of users that are actually just focused on how to use it right, being professional, helping one another. And as people come on, they see what it's about and they'll do the same.
Yeah.
And then we have 10,000, beta users, let's say, that are kind of like moderators themselves, they're going to have like a early user badge or something, and they're always going to be there, kind of like the big brothers and big sisters of the platform.
That's great. Well, I wish you tremendous success with that. I want to jump into the final four because our time is running out here. So the first question I always ask every single one of my guests is, what is the worst job that you ever had?
The worst job I ever had was selling flowers on the street.
Was that a full-time job, a part-time job?
No, it wasn't full-time. It was a weekend thing. It was Thursday nights and Fridays. It was actually my own business at a partner, but it was probably the worst thing I ever had to do. That's it.
Awesome. Okay. Second question. What's a book that you've read or listened to that's given you a paradigm shift? So not just any book, but something that's totally made you think differently.
Obviously, we're talking about business here, so I would have to say, I got to remember the title. Gosh, it is about. It's a book written for marketers or for really anyone in an agency, for agency models of how to scale an agency. Oh gosh, if I can remember what it was called. It was written in a story format. It's a very popular book. It's written in a story format about a guy with a mentor. Do you know the book?
The email.
You're smiling.
No.
There's a guy and a mentor, his business friend, like a senior mentor, his wealthy friend, and he runs like this guy runs like a graphic design shop. Right? And he does little jobs for banks and for little businesses.
Okay, we'll come up with the name.
Yeah, logo design, and he does graphic design. And where his mentor, chapter by chapter, shows him how to structure the business so that when you offer a service, you're offering a product and you have a process for that. And then you can scale that. And that was that paradigm shift for me in my business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll have to, get to the bottom of that, figure out what it is. If anyone listening to this knows what that is.
I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Okay. So third question, and maybe I'll think of it if it doesn't ring a bell, but third question, what's a skill or talent that you'd like to learn?
I mean, at this point, I would have to say coding because that's what I'm doing right now. The other thing would probably be architecture.
Interesting. Okay. And fourth and final question, Joel, what does success mean to you?
Poof, that's a loaded question because for most people, I think success is a moving target, right? You have, whether it's a financial goal or any other goal, especially if it's a happiness goal, most people do not find happiness. They don't even understand what they're seeking. So it's just a moving target that they never really find. And I think as you get older, that the target, if you've got your head in the right place, the target starts, moving to a certain place and you know what it is you want to achieve. So obviously, I've got financial goals, but it's become more, and I don't want to sound cliche, but it's become more about building something that I can give back. And and then that's that really, because once you give them back, whether you give them back $100 a month or $100,000 a month, it's the same concept. It's the effort and the thought that goes into it. And that's pretty much it. Financial freedom is extremely important, but it's extremely important when you're, this is very important for everyone, and I don't want to preach to anyone because I'm saying this as much to myself as to anyone else. But when you have that financial goal, when you say, oh, I want to make $1 million a year, that thing moves to $2 million a year really, really quickly, and then right. So it's extremely important to start getting real with yourself, to start realizing that it's great to have financial freedom, but then when it comes to 2 houses, 3 houses, there's no end. There literally is no end, and then it just ends when you die, and it's just an unhappy road. So you have to become really, really real with yourself and know what it is that you and your family needs and wants if you're going to set a financial goal.
Love that. And so I think we all can take a lot away from that, but most specifically, obviously, you have to keep your goals in mind and make the right aims. And, come back to them, revisit them, because like you said, it's a moving target. Things are going to change. A lot of things in our lives are going to change over time, and we've got to keep those goals moving because as things change, your goals are going to change. So thank you, Joel, once again. It's been a pleasure. It always is a pleasure to speak with you, to have you on the show. I'm glad we can make it happen. Weiss Advice, maybe the Joel show will have a special guest soon also if I ever start an Israeli tech company. But in the meantime, I just want to say thank you. And to all our listeners, I hope you got a lot out of this as well. And remember, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn, send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.